All right. So thanks again. Great place to get started is you can just tell us about yourself and what you're building.
Sure. So my name is Arthur. I've my entire career has been in startups, starting in 2013 in the tourism industry. I think most of them have been software as a service. After tourism industry, I went into retail technology, jewelry, furniture, home decor, and then into oil and gas for the last 5 years. And then throughout that time, I was mostly in marketing and business operations, reaching this COO level at the last company. But through all of that, attended lots of networking events, lots of trade shows, and I just noticed a lot of inefficiencies in the process of, once you've been to a trade show where the goal is to acquire those business cards that are very valuable as they represent potential prospects and potential opportunities. You talk to them, you make some notes in the back, and then you try to organize them by the most qualified, and then you take them back to the office, and then you spend hours and hours transcribing the business cards and the notes, and you create the opportunity in the CRM, and then follow up from there. I've seen that done several ways. Do it yourself, have an admin assistant do it, scan them on a big scanner in the office, and then ship them off to a freelancer in Pakistan, and then have them transcribe it. Any way you do it with those methods, it's always time consuming, and it's prone to error of transcription, either just fat fingering something from the printed text or misreading the, chicken scratch handwritten note on the back. And that can translate into missed opportunities because either the contact information was misspelled or the context from the note was misunderstood. And then when you follow up, the person doesn't know what you're talking about. So I had this idea of creating a tool that would allow sales reps and marketing reps and just anyone who goes to networking event of any kind to scan a business card and capture not only the printed text, but also handwritten notes and labels that the reps add to the card within seconds, and then associate that to the custom event that the user created beforehand going to this networking event. So they all live there. They can still check to make sure they match the picture. They can manually edit and enter further notes if they want. They can then export it into CSV or just integrate into their CRM, which is the recommended way, in which case the contact information gets directly loaded into the CRM as a lead with a specific tag. And if they're smart and they have follow-up sequences already set up, then they can be automatically added to the follow-up sequence. And that way, that prospect can be followed up with automatically within minutes of talking to them, if that was what the rep wants to do. But basically, it saves an average of 14 hours per rep per event, and it also ensures no opportunities fall through the cracks, especially if that CRM integration is enabled. So we have the MVP already built. We launched it about a month and a half ago. We have some customers that are using it already. One of them renewed for like three months already. It's basically since we launched in late September. And now we're just we're trying to capture more users.
Cool.
Trade show season is approaching, so I'm hoping that will lead to some more interest.
Cool. And I guess just to introduce myself quickly, my name's Justin Ford. I'm one of the founders of Javelin Sports, one of the largest adult rec sport clubs in North America, focusing on volleyball, all operated through a mobile app. And I'm also one of the founders of Decimate.world, a company trying to solve the problem of monopolies in North America. Okay, let's jump into things. So out of the gate, I did find your pitch pretty boring. Lot to kind of go through there. I'd recommend trying to find something like really short and concise that you can hook people on. Because yeah, most of these conversations generally are pretty quick. And if you're talking to either someone in sales or a VC, you want to get something out very rapid that can just hook them. So that might be worth looking into, is trying to identify something a bit snappier there. It did sound
Sure.
like you're sorry.
I didn't realize you were wanting like an elevator pitch. I thought, okay.
It's okay. I mean, in general, it's one of those examples where kind of like across the board, like people are kind of judging you on how entertaining you can be as a startup founder. I think a lot of people are really attracted to the founder's charisma, and when you're talking, you are kind of representing everything you're building. So yeah, I mean, people are looking for someone, I guess, generally very engaging, but it's not a huge deal to make a quick pitch. I mean, I've made a million bad pitches in my career. That's just life, right? But okay, so you mentioned you were mostly interested in marketing and sales right now, right?
Well, no, yeah, I guess, yeah. People who man the booth at trade shows are the prime targets, and then any consultants will go to networking events as well.
Okay. So I guess, and obviously I am uploading this, so if I'm asking anything that you don't want to answer, just feel free to say like you don't want to answer that publicly, that's fine. But are you comfortable sharing what your current team looks like?
Yeah, it's just me and a couple other partners who are the developers.
Okay, so you and a couple others, that 2 developers?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to give kind of a quick rant that I give to most startup founders on kind of what the focus should be at the early stage. And then after that, I think we can dive more into marketing. But in general, I think a lot of founders get pushed into focusing on marketing and sales too early. And I think that's actually due to an example of survivorship bias, right? And survivorship bias is, I think, one of the most misunderstood facets, of really general life, right? And it's really, really relevant in the startup space. Like if you're ever wondering, why has this business not been worked on before? The answer to that is probably survivorship bias, right? It's been tried before and it just didn't work. So in this case, one of, I think, the examples of survivorship bias that you see in the startup space is this focus that startups are encouraged to put on sales and marketing. And I think that creates this environment where a lot of early stage founders think that's what's most important because that's what they hear most about. So that's what they really start pushing early on. To give you an example of this, when I was first launching Javelin Sports in 2022, January, we essentially before this, we built this health screening app during the pandemic. That did extremely well because the timing was great. Like people were worried about getting sued if people caught COVID at their events. So we built an app for that, scaled it up. We were running a successful business, but it was obviously a temporary business. So we rolled that up and used the proceeds from it to launch Javelin. And as we were kind of, I guess sunsetting that business, I reached out to thousands of investors and saying like, hey, look, there's this great opportunity to get people playing sports again. We're a good team. We've built a successful product before. We have money. We have experience in the space because it was actually a sports event health screening app. So I reached out to again, thousands of investors, and every one of them told us, I mean, most of them ghosted us, but every one of them that replied just said the business wouldn't work. And they would give all these reasons as to why and give us advice like, you have to focus on building something with good unit economics, try to build organic sales funnels, try to build something really easy for people to sign up for, try to limit your customers' ability to message each other on your sports app so they don't form groups and leave your app. And I was kind of sitting there looking at all this feedback from all these investors thinking, okay, these are all people who didn't want to invest in our platform, right? Which means they probably make poor decisions, which means I probably shouldn't be following the advice of people who make poor decisions. So I made this big list of advice they were giving me, and I did the opposite of it. And then in our first year, we scaled up at 85% month on month, well into 6 figures in revenue, from doing, again, the opposite of all the advice that every investor gave me. And the point of this story isn't investors are all dumb. It's a conversation for a different day. The point is more so the advice you get from investors actually gives this interesting case of survivorship bias. So investors typically start working with companies after they've built something successful and after they have some initial customers who really love the product. Founders and companies that look like that typically have very similar mistakes that they make, where they put all of their effort and focus into building a good, high quality product, and they obsess over their customers, almost over indexing for that. So when they actually have an investor come on, typically they need to start focusing more on sales and marketing. And typically they need to start kind of cutting some of their business operations that are losing them money, right? And that's when they need to start focusing on building more of a business. So all of the advice you hear in the startup space is focus on sales and marketing, because that's what investors tell their startups that they're working with. But generally, extremely early stage companies, I think actually need to be focusing more on getting a good product out. Like, I think that's the base minimum thing that you need to run a successful startup. And then once your product is good, once it's established, you can start building on these kind of the organization around that good product. So that, again, that would be my first rant on this. If you want to talk more sales and marketing, I'm down to do that. But if you want to talk more product, I think we can also jump into that conversation as well. So what are your thoughts?
The product is built to its minimum viable level. I would argue maybe even more than that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's live. We actually launched it across pretty much all countries. We added translation protocols to it. So now it's available in most countries in the world. The people who tried it do like it. We're still working on adding some new features. I'm also working on adding couple of features that will unleash or unlock a new vertical for us, because this is mostly for salespeople. But by tweaking it a little bit, we'll be able to go after the recruiters in career fairs that have a similar problem with resumes as salespeople do with business cards. So we're working on that now. But that's kind of like the developer partners focus, and I meet with them, and I do the product management side of things as well, but my current focus is to basically market the current product and get more users for it.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, do you have your revenue retention numbers?
Not with me right now. Why?
Those are, I think, a great place for founders to start looking when they're trying to decide, like, is my product kind of at a good stage yet? And really what you want to look for with revenue retention is you want to see that some percentage of your customers stick around for forever. So you want to see that some amount of your month zero revenue, it kind of asymptotes into and potentially even smiles up in the end, where those customers, like some percentage of your customers just realize, like, oh yeah, this is something that I want for forever and I'm going to stick around for forever. That's really what matters most. It's not so much about what percentage of customers stick around, it's that there is some percentage that do. And then typically the more in the B2B space you get, the higher that percentage usually is. And the more in the B2C space you get, the lower that percentage is. But you want to see that revenue retention asymptote. So that's a really good thing for founders to look at. There's a lot of tools online that can help if you can feed like Stripe data into your system. But yeah. Okay, let's talk sales and marketing then. So you mentioned it's just you on the business side, right?
Mm-hmm.
How big is your average ticket price right now?
So it's per user per month or per user per year, either $10 or $100.
Okay. How big are like the sales teams you typically work with?
They vary from 1 person to 10 is the most typical.
Okay.
1 to 10, I would say.
It's like 10,000 would be your biggest contract size.
Dollars? Sure. I mean,
or I guess
there's
1,000, yeah.
There are exceptions to that, but I anticipate mostly it will be individual licenses at this point.
Okay, so individual. So it'll be about $100, your typical contract size. Okay,
Yeah,
so sorry, go ahead.
if they pick the annual plan, yeah.
Yeah. So for contract sizes of that size, you typically want more product-led growth. Because it's not really going to be profitable in the long term for you to be running a sales process.
Well, so just to be clear, this is a self-service product. It's kind of like Notion, where you go to landing page, you see it, you like it, you start the trial, and then everything's automatic. There's no sales team interaction from our side.
Yeah. So you're just focusing on top of the funnel marketing then, yeah?
Yeah. After that, it's self-service. For support.
So what's your current strategy there?
So I started with LinkedIn, but I found out it's like low intent level buyers. So, we have a pretty minimal budget right now for advertising. So I did a campaign on LinkedIn for $500. I think it was for 5 days. We got over 700 visits to the website out of that. But none of them converted to start the free trial. And so then I added the demo video. I don't know if you've been to the website, but there's a demo video now. And I also removed the requirement for a credit card from the free trial. So now you can start without having to enter your credit card details. I'm still thinking about modifying the homepage banner. I got some advice to basically create some clones and map it to each advertising campaign so the banner kind of matches the pain points described in the ads. Also added CRM logos recently that weren't there before to add more confidence. I tried doing Apple search and Google search ads, and those performed a little better. We got 100 downloads on Android out of that campaign for a couple $100. And then we had 35 downloads on iOS, again from $100-something. But I'm waiting to see.
Sorry, when you say downloads, how do you define a download?
App installs, so mobile app installs. So those campaigns were directly tied to the mobile apps and the App Store and Play Store.
Is your entire product through the mobile app?
Well, there's a web app and a mobile app, and they're connected. But you can use the mobile app independently of the web app.
Did you do that through React Native?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, actually, hold on. No. We used React Native in a different company before. This was with Flutter.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So one thing you could try is, and yeah, I want to dive more into these ratios here, but you don't necessarily need to be spending a ton of money on these paid campaigns just to test things out. So I generally like to encourage founders. I call it $1-a-day campaigns, but like each of these different websites, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they all have kind of minimum budget campaigns that you can run. YouTube does too, where you can just spend a couple of dollars and start getting some real ratios out. And the ratios are what matter, because that's when you can really start learning about what people think of either your website or your app or whatnot. So
I thought the minimal budget was like $80 a day.
It depends on the platform you use. I think that might be the minimum on LinkedIn, but for Facebook, it used to be $1, and then I think they upped it to $5. They might have upped it again recently. Did you see that on your end?
I haven't tried Meta ads yet for this.
Yeah, that works. Google search as well. Again, try your best to keep your cost as low as possible here, and just use that to kind of first gauge which site is giving you the highest quality of users. Again, just based on conversion.
Yeah. What I did was I ran it and then I pause it basically after a day or half a day. I'll just stop it and then based on the results, go from there. But yeah, I'm well aware of the costs right now. We're pretty tight.
Yeah, no, things are expensive. And then based on, I guess, the campaigns that you have ran, what do you think is working better in terms of conversion rates? People who go to your website first or people who go directly to your app?
People that go directly to the app seems to be converting a lot better, but we still have the 7-day free trial there, so I'm still waiting to see how many of them will convert into paid subscribers. I'm also running into this issue with bots, like creating fake accounts or trying to create fake accounts because we have an email verification process in place. And I just checked the logs and Amazon Cognito, which we use for authentication, and there's like a lot of users that were trapped or stopped at the verification process part. And the emails seem legit. Some of them even actually did an auto response out of office, but their first name, last name appear as gibberish. And then when I tried to email them saying, "Hey, we noticed you got stuck in the process, would like to help you out," they either ghosted me, bounced, or actually some of them marked my email as spam. So I'm wondering if somebody else is using their email address for like bot activity somehow. I don't know if you have any insights on that.
We've had weird, and it'll typically come in waves. So in my experience, it's usually like one group doing it where we'll get a ton of website visits randomly from weird domains, and then they kind of stopped. Unfortunately, don't have much insights as to how or why, but yeah, we've definitely seen that before. Okay, so do you have conversion rates? So downloads, downloads to views?
No, right now I just have installation numbers, and I'm waiting for the 7 days to pass to have conversion rates.
Okay, and then do you have accounts created to, accounts created to downloads?
Not yet. So we don't use a CRM right now. So all the accounts live in either Stripe itself, if they created an account, if they subscribe to Stripe, or in the database. And I mean, I see the number of users who created an account incognito. So over there, it's like dozens and dozens, but the majority were, I guess, bots because they didn't move forward past the verification process. Which it just, I don't know, it feels very weird.
All right. One thing we're seeing, and this could be it, is consumer standards are starting to kind of go through the roof in terms of product quality when it comes to actually using a product. Essentially, I mean, everything comes down to competition, right? I mean, if I were to ask you, like, what's harder to do, to build a successful startup or to build a successful restaurant, what do you think the answer is?
The startup is harder.
Yeah, and I would agree, and most people would. You build a successful startup, like you make billions. You build a successful restaurant, still a good business, but I mean, the payoff's not as high. But startups can sell to anyone on earth, right? Restaurants can only sell to a small fraction of the people relative to what a startup can sell to. So why is it easier then to build a restaurant successfully than a startup? And the answer to that is competition, right? The other side of being able to sell to everyone on earth is you have to compete with everyone on earth. And that is the piece that actually makes building a startup hard. So I mean, when technology is new, so when some new technology comes around, generally there's not much competition in a space. And that's why you see like apps blowing up overnight. When some new technology comes out, you might see like some new developer IDE blow up because now people can code faster and there's nothing in the space. So a new brand comes along and it just explodes. For very old, very established technologies, in order to stand apart from like all the other people in the space, consumer standards have come up extremely high with respect to how good your product has to be for people to trust it and use it and tell their friends about it. I am a mobile app founder, and when I speak with other mobile app founders and they tell me they want to build a mobile app, my number one piece of advice is usually don't. And that's because, in my opinion, it takes at least about $1 million in like dev expenditure or your own work to actually build a mobile app that feels good enough and feels polished enough to be successful. So one thing, I mean, if you, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure if that's the issue in our case, because several people that our target audience tried it and they liked it. What seems to be one of the main stoppers is that the use case for it is not daily. It's not every day. The trade shows, networking events don't happen every day, and so when they see the advertising or some social posts, they don't need it at that moment, and I don't know. That's kind of where I'm leaning to. You're welcome to look at the app yourself. I mean, I worked on mobile apps in the past too. It feels on a average, above average level to me, but
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
And sorry, I would look at it. I'm using my phone as my webcam right now, though, so unfortunately can't at the moment. I am looking at your website right now, though. Do you want to maybe go through that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So how was this website created?
WordPress.
Okay. So I guess my first thoughts on the website is some of the spacing feels a little off, and I think the text does too. So if you look, I think these look like all different kind of text types and sizes. Also, the wrapping I think could be improved. Is this your app here?
Yeah, it's just a demo of the scanner.
Okay.
So it's not the whole app, it's just the scanner component. That works.
And from your intro, it did sound like you're doing a lot right now. So you have the scanner, and then
So what you see here, it basically is demonstrating how fast it transcribes it and the accuracy. And also how it captures a note at the bottom there, it's the handwritten note. And it's all organized into the custom event with the name and the dates and a description.
And then does this integrate with Salesforce?
Yeah. So right now the integration is with Zapier. In the future, we'll do direct integrations with the top CRMs.
And there's a web app too. And how long did you say you were building this for?
So we started last August and we launched at the end of this September. So about a year.
Okay. And your MVP was just live after about just over a year?
Yeah. Late September.
So general timelines that I see / hear is it takes about 4 months typically to get an MVP live and like a V1 of a product. And then it takes typically another 12 to 14 months to go from MVP to an actual successful product that people like. So,
well, the reason it took us longer than that was that my partners, the developers, they have full-time jobs, and this was their side projects that they work on in the evenings and weekends.
Okay.
And so if you wanted to, if you click on Try Free today, it will take you to the web app. Next step,
free trial or
any of them, it takes us someplace. So you can sign up with Apple, Google, or email, and then you'll be prompted to select the plan and start the trial without credit card.
Let me try that. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. And there's the email verification too. If you do the email.
Okay, so this is where I am.
Yeah. So this is from Stripe directly.
Yeah.
Basically, you can't do anything until you start the trial. But like I said, you just need the billing address to start the trial.
I see.
Yeah.
I think honestly, adding start free trial might be big here. Because if I see a fee here and then I see start trial here, I'm thinking like, hold on, is this the initial fee? And then they're going to up my price like beyond this after. That could be something.
Yeah, I'll look into see if I can change it, but I think Stripe had that by default with no option to edit that text. But I'll look.
Okay. User settings. Interesting.
Yeah, so you just need your company name, and then billing address, and that's just to calculate the tax if it's applicable.
Okay.
And then it will let you start the trial, and then you could use the whole thing.
Okay. It'll do after trial and initial due today. Yeah, I think this looks like a pretty standard onboarding from Stripe. You might want to give people a bit more here. Also, I'd argue again, the UX UI on the side feels a little dated, which could be causing some people to take hesitancy at this site because they can't see anything about your product. So they're just trying to judge it based on, everything they can see here. And their concern might be like, okay, these buttons look very old school, so maybe this product isn't well polished. That would be one potential thing to consider.
Okay.
I'm just looking at your app store. So yeah, I think in general, probably the best next step is to just really dive into every step along the user onboarding flow and see where they get stuck, and then just spend time tweaking that step. Yeah, if it's actual downloads, then you might want to tweak your actual app store page. If it's converting from download into account created, you might want to tweak your onboarding flow. Something even simple like adding some images in the app can go a long way, and giving people expectations of how they can use your product. And then if it's conversion to from account created to free trial, then you might want to give people a little bit more before they actually create that free trial.
Okay.
In general, for a product like this, you probably want a lot of your downloads to be word of mouth. So yeah, I think getting it to a point where you're starting to actually see like people referring friends, I think would be really valuable. So try to set that as your long-term target, is getting your product to a point where you're starting to see that people sharing links with friends, and don't expect it to be super high in this space. Generally it's actually like young people who typically share links more. So if you look at a product going viral, it probably targeted younger people. Also, generally it's more consumer, but I do know a lot of salespeople talk to each other and stuff. So if one salesperson is using this at a expo or at a conference, I'd expect to see, them telling other people about it if they actually feel like it's very valuable for themselves. Cool. Any other questions or?
No, I mean, all of your previous apps were B2C, right? None of them are B2B?
My current one's B2C. Well, I have two B2C apps right now. My previous one was B2B. The health screening app was B2B.
Oh, okay. So how, I guess there's no standard rate of user acquisition for a
Well,
B2B app. You can like
okay.
judge
Let me
yourself again.
to tell you the story of our health screening app. We built this, right? And we were the first health screening app available during the pandemic. Then we just started calling up sports organizations, right? They were all worried about getting sued if anyone caught COVID at their games. So I would usually have them onboarded before the end of the first call. Like I'd be like, hey, this is what we built. This is what it does. Like, we'd love you to join. And before the end of that call, they'd be on our platform. They'd be like, yes, we need this. We'll sign up right away. And they just started telling everyone about us. And then all of a sudden it completely flipped to inbound. And we, like, our database couldn't handle the volume of customers that we were getting. Like, things started slowing down. I was up. I felt like I wasn't sleeping during that time. Like, I was doing user onboarding and customer support at like 12 at night, and I was doing it at 5 in the morning. It was just insane. It was like a nightmare. Straight up check myself into therapy. Like, that's how that's how crazy.
Well, it sounds like you captured the right moment for that specific need.
Yeah. If you capture timing, that's what the space is like, even in B2B. In order to replicate that again, like unless the timing piece is exceptional, and I'm going to harp on this point a lot, is the product needs to be like out of this world. It needs to blow people away. And that's generally extremely difficult. Probably the most common mistake I see founders make, and I'm not saying you're making this mistake, it's just, I just want to put it out there, is a lot of founders hear from investors that they should just build something that people want, like just get something out there. And then they'll show investors that, you know, some people want this product, some people have spent money on it, and then they can raise money to then scale up the product. And founders hear that and they think that's real good advice, and they go out and do it, and they go, okay, what do I need to do to get a product live? And they go, all right, I need, again, I said it takes about 4 months typically. So I need about 4 months of a developer salary, get this product live. Some people will spend some money on it. I take that to investors, and then I hire a good team to scale up the product, scale up the marketing. So yeah, they pool together enough resources and savings or partnerships or whatever to spend 4 months really grinding away at their product. They get it live. Some people spend some money on it, but the issue is V1 of a product always sucks. So their initial metrics for those initial customers suck, which is fine. It's natural. That's every person's first product, every person's first launch, outside of a few rare exceptions, is going to be kind of clunky. And they take those metrics to investors, and every investor looks at those metrics and goes, yeah, I'm not going to invest in this product. Those metrics are awful. Mm-hmm. So it creates this situation where this founder used up all of their resources that they had to get the product live. They used up all of their resources, the product's live, and they don't have anything left now to improve it and to spend the next 12 months iterating it and working with their customers to get product market fit to the point where the product's just growing itself because it's so good. Mm-hmm. That would be probably my biggest concern is just make sure the amount of resources that you have when you're launching this is enough to build a good product, not just enough to build a product. And I know you said your product is good, and sorry, I'm not trying to doubt that. But it generally does take a lot of iterations from first release into things actually becoming something that are just kind of blowing up, and you're just observing that on the side, trying to keep your business together and keep things from falling apart on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of why I partner with my developer friends. I knew it was going to be a long-term development commitment, and I did not have the money to hire somebody for that.
That's good, and that goes a long way. Having like great devs who you want to work with and who you can trust each other with. I partnered with some devs on Decimate.world, right? Because we wanted to. What's that saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Everything in the startup space typically takes more time than you expect, right? I like to kind of say that you just keep executing in like a million different ways, and you fail a million different ways, and eventually you just run out of ways to fail, and then things start working and you start scaling up. So being able to be in a position where you can grind away at things for a long time makes it significantly more likely that you'll be successful.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions?
No, not that I can think of.
Cool. I appreciate the talk, Arthur, and I appreciate you being kind of so blunt about everything. It's good to dive into a business. Generally, I try to when I'm talking to founders, I generally try to tell them things that I think they probably don't want to hear. I kind of tried to be mean. It's not because I don't like people or anything. It's just, I mean, in the startup space, you're kind of getting kicked in the ass all the time. So it's better if I can kind of tell people about the problems they might experience rather than just having it hit them in the face later. So that's how I try to have these calls.
That's good.
Cool. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time, and again, sorry for all the misunderstandings before with the timing.
No worries. That happens. Definitely happens here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.